important. Thank you to America's Voice for putting together this wonderful press conference this morning. And thank you for all of the wonderful work you've done over the years in keeping our coalition together. I want to first of all say that it's interesting Congressman Cellini was here because 5 years ago I started the Familias Unidas campaign in, doesn't work? I guess Cellini turned it off before I left. Oh,
thank you.
All right, there you go, Cellini. You weren't the last one with the word. 5 years ago, we went to Providence, Rhode Island, Familias Unidas saying, stop the deportations. And 5 years later, I want to thank everybody in this room for their tenacity and their consistency. We're all for comprehensive immigration reform as the ultimate solution. But in the interim period, there have been many of us who have said, stop the deportations until Congress acts. And so now that the President has acted, I think it is our responsibility to make sure that we sign people up. And there is a pre-registration period. We know that the first applications won't be available until May or June, but we can register people. We can have them get their documents together. This coming Saturday, we're going to have 200 volunteers get trained. And on the 13th of December, we're going to pick a church in Chicago, and hundreds of people are going to come, and we're going to register. So while the Republicans are complaining and bellyaching, we're going to act. And we're going to take this wonderful opportunity that the President of the United States has given us to protect 5 million of our undocumented community and protect them. And I think that must be our first and foremost responsibility. They can complain, but they can also act. We're going to go, Zoe Lawford and I are going to be, and Judy Chu, we're going to be together along with Mr. Conyers. And, you know, we can have the hearing this afternoon. I'm serious, it will not take more than a couple of hours. And we can address this issue and bring a bill to the floor of the House of Representatives. If you do not like what the President of the United States has done, then it is your responsibility to offer us an alternative other than to demonize and criminalize our immigrant community. What we have said very clearly, the President of the United States has said, I mean, how do you argue against 5 million people that are undocumented coming and registering with the government, going through an exhaustive background check, and only after they've gone through that background check and show they've got a clean bill of health, will you give them a work permit to work so that then they can raise their families? See, the problem is, then what do you do with the resources? You take those resources and you put them in enforcement, which is what they always say they want. So I don't quite understand. See, they can't argue against that. How do you argue? 5 million people registered. Put your fingerprints. We know they're not criminals. We give them a work permit. They raise their kids. Wait a minute. They pay taxes and get on the books on the right side of the law. How do you argue against that? Well, you don't want their tax dollars? You don't want them to go through a background check? Because you're always saying, well, they're criminals. I'll tell you what, I got 5 million ready to go through a background check. Because if you're right, none of them will ever get Obama's work permit. But you know that you're wrong. That the vast majority of them are hardworking people who contribute to our economy and to our nation and want nothing other than to raise their children with some harmony and some peace that the federal government can give them. And that's what Barack Obama has done. It isn't everybody, but I'll tell you what, 1 million dreamers in June of 2012, 5 million more this month, that's 6 million people. And that's 6 million people that we need to go out and address and register for the program. So when the door opens, in May or June, whenever it opens, when that door opens, we should have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people already with their documents, ready to submit them to the federal government so they can get their work permit, so that the next time they're stopped by an immigration agent, the next time they're stopped by a policeman, the next time they're stopped from anyone that would destroy their family, they can say, yo tengo mi permiso para quedarme en los Estados Unidos. I have it right here. And it isn't a permit that's going to give me 1 single cent of food stamps or welfare. It's going to give me the ability to do what I always wanted to do. Legally work in the United States of America and pay my fair share of taxes. But they won't do that. They can settle this issue tomorrow. Now I'm going to say one last thing. Look, if there is one thing that I have learned in this process, that it has just occurred to me. I used to go around and I used to say, why aren't Democrats doing more, right? How many of us didn't say, Democrats need to do more. Why aren't they doing more? Pero eso está bueno si tú estás al lado de los inmigrantes. Pero lo curioso, the interesting thing about all of this was lately, the Republicans were going around, well, they didn't do anything when they were in charge. And you know what? The Senate voted for comprehensive immigration reform. And Congressman Cotton, our colleague here in the House of Representatives, used the fact that Senator Pryor voted for immigration reform to gain his seat in the U.S. Senate. They did it in North Carolina. They did it in Louisiana. They did it all across this country to everybody that stood up. Shame on those people who would gain power demonizing and criminalizing our immigrant community while families are being separated. Ustedes no tienen ninguna autoridad moral para cuestionar lo que hicieron o dejaron de hacer los demócratas cuando ustedes son los primeros en utilizarlo y explotarlo para ventaja política. Nosotros estamos aquí parados siempre en defensa de nuestra comunidad inmigrante. Y yo quiero ser absolutamente claro. Los republicanos lo único que tienen que hacer es presentar una reforma y se puede aprobar instantáneamente. Y se resolvió el programa. ¿Ustedes creen que yo prefiero el programa de Obama que a una inmigración integral? Mire, yo quiero que todos puedan tener la misma alegría que los 5 millones. Yo no quiero 5, yo quiero 11, 12, yo los quiero a todos por igual. Y la única manera de conquistar eso es a través de la legislación. Así que 5 millones yo los voy a aceptar, yo voy a trabajar y yo voy a garantizar que todos se inscriban para el programa. Pero aquí no estamos para 5 millones. Aquí nos descansaremos hasta que cada hombre y cada mujer que desea trabajar y tener la dignidad y el respeto que viene con la legalidad tenga esa oportunidad de vivir en este país y trabajar en este país de una manera legal y con respeto del gobierno. ¡Viva! So, let's be clear. Último. El 13 de diciembre, yo espero que en Chicago no seamos los únicos. Nosotros vamos a inscribir por lo menos 500 personas ese día. Y tenemos cientos de miles en mi ciudad. Y mi compromiso es inscribirlo a ellos. Y estoy dispuesto a viajar donde quiera en este país a inscribir más personas. Así que si ustedes me invitan, yo voy. Pero la responsabilidad es que en cada ciudad, en cada aldea, en cada comunidad, donde haya indocumentados que pueden beneficiarse de lo que ha hecho el presidente, nosotros tenemos la responsabilidad de ayudarlo a inscribirlo y conseguirle su permiso de trabajo. Esa es nuestra responsabilidad. Nosotros vamos a empezar con mucha alegría y mucha felicidad. Mire, yo está. How many years have you been waiting for this moment? How many years have you been waiting for this moment? You don't have to wait anymore. Let's register the 5 million as quickly and demand that the Congress does.